Hi, my name is George Elder, and I'm the president and operator of Adonai Software. Hello, and welcome back. I'd like to go over the page layout customization, and I would like to express that in IronSpeed Designer, and what I believe is the most flexible IDE, which is an IDE is an integrated development environment on the market, and that's essentially just my opinion. The IDE was designed for non-programmers or web designers. And what that means is that there is no need to have any experience with HTML or ASPX or any other web technology to get IronSpeed up and running. The pages are laid out in a series of spreadsheets, which is very similar to Microsoft Excel for those of you who are experienced with Microsoft Excel. Each page has a hierarchy which starts with the following. It has a master page, and we'll see this later, ASPX page, a record control, fields, headers, and etc., and buttons. And like I iterated before, it's basically spreadsheets which shows a logical representation of a page section. And as you can see, the page section here has 4 columns and 7 rows. And the columns are depicted by A, B, C, D, and the rows are 1 through 7. Essentially, the drag and drop methodology, all you do is drag and drop a control on a page, and you can arrange it in any method which you like. And the designer converts the page layout when you render it to HTML or ASP.NET, and it uses the table, TR, TD structure. Like we said before, you don't have to know any HTML or ASPX to make this type of page. Let's move on to the rows, and the beautiful thing is it's very easy to insert rows and columns into your web page. And like I said, you don't have to know any web technologies to do so. It's basically spreadsheets. And what you do is you right click and you go down to insert, and you got rows and columns and tabs. And rows, you can go up or down, and columns, you can go right or left. So if you want a column to the right, you just tell it that you want it to the right. If you want it to the left, you just tell it you want it to the left. And then the rows, top or bottom. You want one on top or you want one on the bottom. Very simple. Also, a very powerful thing with this mechanism is that you can merge and split cells, just like in Microsoft Excel or any type of spreadsheet design. And the beautiful thing is that you might want to merge cells when you want to put multiple controls in one cell, so you start to merge a cell to make it larger. And on the opposite, you can split cells up so that you can only have one element in the cell. And as I iterated before, that navigating your page into designer mode, and we'll see this later in the demo, that it has a hierarchy. And the hierarchy would be the master page, and then also, if this was a show customer page, it would have the ASPX page, and then the customer record control. And then you have the header, and then you have the region or control title region, and then you have the panel, and then fields. And then if you want to stick another table control on there, then and so on and so on. And then lastly, you've got the page buttons. And every part of the page is customizable, via the spreadsheet. The pages are nested, and as I advised earlier, that uses hierarchy. And then you can zoom in and zoom out on page level as you want. Beautiful thing. The next thing I want to talk about is the toolbox. IronSpeed has a very powerful toolbox by which you can drop headers, footers, and menus, even reports and forms and charts, and then fields from your database. And it's all data driven, so you don't have to, or data bound, so you don't basically have to, write any code to hook it up. And it's a drag and drop control into your web page. And the toolbox controls are data bound, as I said before. No code necessary. And you can put fields, labels, and entire panels. And you can also configure, using the configuration wizard, you can configure your fields, or basically your panel. When you quickly put a panel on the page, it will allow you to drop fields in there. You can drop them all, or you can select one or two. It's up to you. And then you have the filters and totals and all those things that you would have in any aspect of IronSpeed Designer's data access. Well, let's move on to the demo. Here I have a customer's demo application open, and let's move to the Show Customers page, and you notice that there are fields. All these fields and the things that I was talking about earlier, and you show with a drop down hierarchically, where you have the master page, the SPX page, and then the customer's record control, and then the customer panel header, and then the title region. And what the title region is for is that you can put a title in there. Isn't that wonderful? Where you have a string concept. Well, I have customers here, but if I wanted to change that, I could change that to anything that I want. Okay? And then as you notice, this drop down allows you to go back and forth to each element of the page that you want to go to. Say, for instance, I want to go to the record control. I can go to the record control. If I want to go to the fields, I go to the customer fields. And let's drag some things around so that it gives you a different look and feel. And before we do that, I want to express that you have the design mode by which it gives you the ability to do customizable design right there in your face. And the IDE is this whole process here, and you can move things back and forth to give yourself more room. Here is the toolbox. Here is the properties. Now the properties are very powerful too, because on every field or element you have properties. And here is the cell editor. The cell editor allows you to do any type of if you do know HTML, you can write HTML or anything in here, which will give you the ability to render that into a nice web page. Now, let's look at the customer or the contact name, okay? And if I wanted to just write text here, and let's see what it does. And let's do the live view. Now the live view gives you the ability to look at what you're working on in live mode, but you don't have to run the whole application. Very powerful. Well, it's about to come up. See what we've done. So move some things around so that you can have an understanding. Wow, look at that. You notice that that text that I just typed in there, it shows up on the page now. Now if I go back and I get rid of it, hit save, we can do a build and do another live preview. And as you can see, that text is gone. Okay, let's go back to design view and let's move some things around. Instead of having a contact name here, I want to have a customer ID. So let's exchange those two elements. Put that up there, and you put that up there. And let's do a save and build again, and do a live preview. And we should see customer ID on top, and we do. Beautiful. Let's look at the right click. Remember the things that you can do with the right click? You can insert rows above or below. If you do above, it's going to put a row there. If you take that row and you click on it and you go remove row, it will remove that row. Excellent. If you go here and say I want another column, insert column to the right, then it will put another column to the right. That's probably not a good idea, example, so we'll do move column to the right here. Let's see here. Yeah, as you can see, it created that column. And we can just remove column and go back to the way we were. So, let's run that again. Now we have a nice, whoops, didn't come up yet, sorry. Now we have a nice web page, and it has an OK and an edit. So, to further do, let's go over this mechanism. This is really awesome, by which you can take and you can change everything in your page, just like in Word or any type of office setting, that you have this toolbar where it has drop down where you can change font, you can change font size, you can change the width. That's the width of the page, by the way. And you can bold, italic, or underline. Like for instance, let's underline the customer ID. And let's save, build, and let's see what we got and see if the customer ID is underlined. Excellent. Look at there. It's underlined. So this shows you how powerful Iron Speed mechanism is for the customization of any page. Let's talk a little bit more about the cell editor and customizing content within the cell editor. And the cell editor is great for fine-grained tuning. It saves time by showing HTML snippet of selected code. As you can see, you can enter any text or HTML you want and it will render. Also, you would be able to use third-party controls in the cell editor to create that control in your web page. And also, as I iterated earlier, is that you can use the bowl or the toolbar to use the bowl, and if you do that, the HTML will render this phone number in bold tags. And let's go take a look at that. For instance, let's take and put bold. Now, if you use the toolbar, it will put that information right here within the table definition class. And let's take a look at that. Let's see if it bolds it. Let's pre-render it. No preview. And as you can see, that aspect has been bold. Now, just to give you an idea, I'm going to take the bold away. Now it's away, and then we're going to use the B tag. And take that and close it. and it should give you the same outcome. Let's preview it, and it does. The same way with font tags or any HTML tag, and that's for more an advanced person, but as I said, you don't need to know HTML or ASPX to develop a web page in ArtSpeed Designer. And let's talk a little bit more about the toolbar, and let's go over that for a little bit. First off, the headers, footers, and menus. As you can see, you can select from the headers, the footers, and menus, as well as existing menu. You can come here and you can basically create a report on the page via a panel, and essentially you can create a report, a workflow, and a blank panel without a header, a blank panel with a header, and you can also connect your crystal report buttons. Let's drop a workflow panel on the page, and as you can see, remember the configuration wizard that I spoke about, and what we can do is we can do a select show, and here are all the properties for the panel that basically you can select from. And here you can use, you can export to CSV or Excel, Word, PDF, and whether you're going to use the add, edit, copy, delete on the page. And if we walk through, remember the fields that I was telling you about? We can just select here a couple of fields and see how that works. And there's an option to search by, and we can do by company name, but let's do it by company name is fine. Move to the next section, and here are the filters. We can filter by the database name field or any of the objects down below, and essentially let's filter by contact name, and then we hit finish, and a customer record control is created on the page. Let's build this and save it and do a live preview and see what we have. Should be done in a minute. Very cool. Look, we've got a whole new panel on the page. Now we need to basically change this around so that it doesn't look like it's to the right, and let's change that right now. And what we'll do is that we'll make a row above, and all these panels we're going to merge, and let's see what that does for us as the aesthetics of how it looks. Build, excellent. Now do you notice that everything went back to normal, and we have a menu and a whole new panel here of select customers. And let's try that out. Works. Very powerful stuff. We have customers up here, and we can select another customer down here, and we can also change things to edit, or to copy, or to delete. Very powerful stuff. Let's go back to design mode, and charts are the same way. Count of customers by, and then sum of average of. We have our fields. Page totals and grand totals. We have filters and buttons. We can add buttons. And this is the most powerful one, where you have the XPX and other controls basically from this toolbar, and you can drop an accordion on there. These are all Ajax tools. And if you go down, there is ASPX buttons that you can, or actually controls that you can put on the page anywhere you would like. Another one is the general controls, which basically is generated off of your database. HTML controls, just straight HTML. And the validation controls, where you can do a compare validator, a range validator, or a regular expression. And then you can have it where it's required certain fields, and then a summary. And lastly, let's go down to the properties. The properties give you the ability to change things about your control. You can change the display look, or a label, or a literal. Let's go to something else, and we can change it to, look at all the controls that we can change this to, or control type. We can control it to a text box, or change it to a text box, a label, drop down list, a list box, a radio button list, button controls, file controls for upload and download, and a checkbox and image. Very powerful. Here you can go in, it has pop-ups, whether you want it to have a pop-up, true or false, the window height and the width, if you want to put text in there, as well as the behavior of the state. This also works for the page as well. If you take the page, you go up to the page and you look for the page, you go to display, and voila, you can change the title of the page. And you can also set the menu in the page. And also you can set the master page. You can have, in Iron Speed Designer, you can have multiple master pages. What is a master page? A master page is by which many web pages can use the same master pages to look very similar. So if you want your website to look like one specific way, you use the master page. Now, you can use the master page to have different elements, like for instance, you wouldn't want to have your menu show up on your login. So you would create a login master page, and it would just show the login screen and not the master menu. Let's talk about changing the cell, row, and the table styles via the CSS class. Now, what CSS is, the cascading style sheets. The style sheet basically governs the whole application, and you can override cell attributes by changing them. For instance, if you brought up a tag with its attribute, and for instance the class would be the TTC, now that TTC would have to be in the cascading style sheets. Let's take a look where this cascading style sheet is. If we go back to application and we go to the application explorer, you can go to the themes and go to your style sheet, and you have the basic style sheet and styles. The basic style sheet is something that cannot be overwritten. If you need to make changes to your style sheet, you need to go to styles, and there are instructions here on how to change and override the basic style sheet, or the base style sheet, not the basic, but the base style sheets. And as you notice, there are things in the style sheet which you can reference to. And for instance, that TTC is in this style sheet, and it basically says if you have, one minute, if you have a class of TTC, then I want you to reference that in this TD class, or for that attribute. Use class attributes to design, as you say, CSS style sheet class. The style attributes to specify or override the specific property. This is very powerful because if you want to change certain elements in your application sporadically through your application, you can create a reference in your style sheet and then come down here and reference it in the page. And let's take a look where that is. Okay, we'll go back to the show customers design mode, and let's go to the fields. And if we right click on styles and sales, you'll notice that the DFFV is the value for the TD class. And then we do have the style by which we've changed down here, and everything that you in your cell you will see in this table definition class. And a class just basically says, hey, there's something in my style sheet that I can reference, and the reference is DFV. And with DFV, that means this cell is going to look like what I told it to look like. Now, any cell you can override and use the style. So this is very powerful stuff. Excuse me, got the wrong one. This is very powerful stuff. So I think we're finished with the demo, and we entered some text in HTML in the cell, and then we can modify that cell to give it a different background, but we won't do that. Okay, let's go back one. Let's summarize what we've done. We've talked about an IDE and how easy it is in IronSpeed Designer to customize your application without any technical skills. And IronSpeed Designer is very, very flexible for the non-developer or web designer. You can nav through the page element and get to what element you need where you want to change. And we spoke about design mode and live preview, by which design mode gives you the ability to change things around, and the live preview gives you a really quick look at it. Also, you were able to merge and split cells, which we did. We used the toolbar to drag and drop controls. We also used the cell editor and formatted the cell editor. And we formatted tables, rows, and cells using CSS. I want to thank you for participating in this video, and it was truly a pleasure to present to you. And my name is George Elder again, and I'm an IronSpeed MVP and consultant, and if you need my help, please do so. Thank you.